You are now listening to About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills. Rom Wills is an entrepreneur and personal coach who has helped people reach their fullest potential personally and professionally. Take it away, Rom.
Welcome to the Sunday morning simulcast with Rom Wills. And I'm your host, of course, Rom Wills. Gain wisdom from everything. Gain wisdom from everything. You know what? I don't think I know everything. I know a lot. Oh, I know a lot, and I know more than most people, but I don't know everything. I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly looking at things new. I constantly try to get perspectives, even on things I do know. Even on things I have experienced, I always try to get another perspective on it. I always try to see things the way somebody else would see it. You know, I'll talk with a homeless person because I've been close, but I've never quite been homeless. Never had to sleep on the street. So I'll ask somebody about it. I'll talk to them about it. Relationships. I'm constantly, because that's the bulk of my money from relationship books and giving relationship advice. I will constantly ask someone. I never assume that I just know. I'll ask a young person. I'll talk to a teenager. Heck, I'll talk to a 10-year-old. In fact, one of the best perspectives I ever had on relationships was this 10-year-old kid. He was just smart. he was sharp. He would ask questions that adults were scared to ask. But learn something from him. I learned something. Even like I said, even if I experience something, I'll pay attention to the perspective, and especially if it's different from my own, because then I can gain wisdom from it. It's like the case of when you're playing chess, right? You're playing a game of chess, but you're playing yourself. You get to see everything from all angles. You can gain wisdom from it. That's how you learn. Because despite everything that, even if I know it to be true, because of my experience, because of my perspective, I still look for a challenge from it. I look for somebody to say, well, this is how it's been, or this is how I see it. And it's not that I necessarily have to agree with them, because my perspective is different, but I see it from that perspective. But I learned something. I was like, okay, some people are going to feel this way about a subject, but some other people feel a different way. One of my favorite things to do is read opinions and ideas that are intelligently presented. Notice I said intelligently presented, because sometimes people will have a contrary idea just to be contrary, and they don't even believe that what they're spouting. But if it's intelligently presented, I like to learn from it. I like to hear it. And I don't want to agree with it. I want something that is going to give me a better understanding of my own perspective. There's been plenty of times when, I felt blessed to be in a position that I'm in, because people have told me who weren't in that same position, I was able to have conversations with them. It was like, I'm blessed. It actually makes me feel thankful. See, that's a wisdom too. You can gain wisdom on your position and to be thankful for the position if you talk to people and find out they're not in the same position. So you gain wisdom from everything. You talk to people. Talk to people who got different ideas than what you have. Talk to people like that. I remember the recent Black Panther movie. It's probably still getting some sellout crowd somewhere, right? There were some people who didn't like it. And there was one guy, he presented his reasons why. Now, actually, he said it's interesting. He just didn't think it was that great a movie. He thought it was a good movie. He didn't think it was a great movie, in all fairness. But because of the way he gave the perspective, I understood why. He was a big Thor fan, so I even call him Thor guy. But I understand that perspective, because he looked like he looked like a big Nordic type. He looked like a Viking. So it's like, okay. You get that perspective, right? You get that perspective from a person. You understand how they think. It's kind of funny You know, a lot of people will quote Sun Tzu, but one of Sun Tzu's main tenets was, if you know your enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. But it's not saying the next person's an enemy, but if you know yourself and you know the next person, you can navigate life greatly. It gives you something. It can add to your perspective, take away. It can also challenge any false beliefs that you have. Because that's a lifelong battle. I don't care who you are. Now, I'll personally say I got fewer false beliefs than some people, but I still have some. There's still stuff I struggle with. So I always get perspective, I always talk. And then I always try to add to what I have. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, I'm known for relationships. I talk to everybody. I talk to young people. I talk to older people. I talk to people from other cultures who might go about relationships differently. You know, for business, I talk to people who are in business. I talk to them, and especially those who might have failed at a business. A dear mentor told me, he said, shoot, you can learn from somebody by not doing what they're doing. You know, you got a story on that. I remember my uncle and aunt, they had a little takeout place one time, right? And they didn't succeed with it. There was I'll just say it was in a bad location, and the previous owners weren't forthcoming about exactly how they were making their money. I'll put it like that. I won't say any more, right? But I learned from that. I learned about location, you know, how important location is. I learned to really do some due diligence. You know, so I didn't have to actually open up a takeout place to learn all of that. Now, experience is important. Don't get me wrong, experience is important. But if you see somebody, they've done the same thing that you want to do, you can learn from their experience. You can talk with them, pick their brain. You know, you can still go ahead and do it if you want to, but you can learn a lot beforehand. They could say, okay, this is a pitfall. Because, you know, if you go to school, for example, if you go to school for anything, right? You go to school, you get trained in something. Like I know this gentleman, he got trained, he went to law school, graduated law school, got trained to be an attorney. He said when he first worked for a firm, they pretty much said they didn't teach you anything in law school. the partners at the firm said they didn't teach you anything. This is what you really have to do. This is what you have to learn. You know, but that's an experience. That's wisdom. You know, always look to learn. Always talk with people if you can. Always shoot the breeze. Talk with somebody who's, you know, might on the surface look different from you. You can learn something. Learn from your elders. Learn from your elders. They done been through some stuff. If they, as the great Richard Pryor would say, you know, if they got to a certain age, you know, shoot, they know something. They survived some stuff. Shoot, find out from them. You know, find out from them. They might have the same thing you going through, they might have gone through. Talk with them. You know, they got a perspective on stuff. Even if they failed at something, they can tell you how not to fail at it. You know, gain the wisdom. Get out here and look at the news stories. Read. You know, books. Any books. Like they have plenty of books on somebody's personal experience with addiction, with going through a divorce, with success. See, books aren't just static things. It's really, even though no matter how objective a book writer tries to make his or her book, that is still that person talking with you. They may have graphs and all sorts of official looking statistics, but it's still their perspective because it's how they interpreted the information, and they're still talking with you. So it's like you have whole libraries of people telling you some stuff. And even in and that's nonfiction, that's even in fiction. That's even in fiction. You can learn some lessons just reading some fiction books. Because all, like I said, it's still all works of fiction. Even if it's some science fiction, fantasy thing, it still is going to reflect the author, and you can still learn something from there. You can gain wisdom from it. You know, you can gain wisdom because the characters will be a reflection of the author, so you can still learn. You're still talking to that person, but instead of something direct like in nonfiction, you getting the story in an allegory. You know, that's why a lot of people know me on these different videos is doing a lot of stories. But that's a teaching method. It's actually a better teaching method. You could teach you can actually teach better if you put it in a right brain modality, like stories. That's what the mythologies of different cultures do. They are stories that impart life wisdom. That's their main thing, and that's the wisdom of it. See, and even in mainstream religions, mythologies, everything. If you look at stuff, those are stories. If you look at the Christian Bible, Jesus taught in parables. If you look at it, it's nothing but parables. But that's wisdom. So you can get wisdom from every source. Just look for it. Just look for it. Just soak it in. Like I said, it's especially good if somebody soak in ideas and things, or ponder them from sources that maybe contradict what you believe. Because then it gives you a better way of seeing it. So, yeah, even a dog outside had to comment on that one. Anyway, that's it for today. Everybody have a great day. I want you to keep rising and transforming. Peace and blessings.